Hey there. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by all the conflicting diet and wellness information out there? While nutrition is an evolving science and recommendations do change over time based on new research findings, it can be very challenging to make decisions regarding our health when there are so many mixed messages floating around social media, especially since many have very little scientific merit behind them. My name is Megan. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm passionate about helping people navigate the world of nutrition so that you can make decisions based on credible information that you feel very good about. Today, I'm discussing my top 5 tips to promote overall well-being. So whether your goal is to make meaningful steps towards a more healthful diet, or you just want to learn more about nutrition and wellness in general, then keep on watching. First and foremost, let me preface this conversation with a disclaimer that these are very general tips. Different approaches are going to work for different people, and it's always a good idea to speak with a registered dietitian or other qualified healthcare provider to address any specific health concerns that you may have. So with that, let's jump right in. Tip number 1, slow down and be present during meals. Here in America, probably more so than other places around the world, we live very busy lives. We're constantly on the go and we're hyper-focused on technology. As a result, many of us eat meals in a rush or in a state of distraction. We may, for instance, wolf down breakfast in the car on our way to work or eat dinner zoned out in front of the TV. This causes us to eat in a state of mindlessness, which can cause us to overeat. This has to do with keeping us from being in tune with our hunger and fullness signals. Our bodies are incredibly smart. We have an innate ability to regulate our food intake to an amount that is just right to meet our needs simply by eating when we're hungry and stopping when we're full. However, it takes 20 minutes for our brains to register fullness. If we are not allowing ourselves enough time to enjoy a meal, or if we're focused on something else and we're distracted, chances are we're going to miss these signals and take in more food than our bodies need. Now, I understand that it might not be realistic to carve out intentional time for meals multiple times a day, every day, especially if this is not something that we routinely practice. And I would be lying if I told you that I wasn't guilty of this myself at times as well. I just want to put it out there that if we can get in the habit of setting aside our phone, turning off the TV, and creating space for meals on a more regular basis, it can help us to eat in a more mindful state where we can listen for and respond appropriately for these cues. Now, it is worth mentioning that one's ability to listen and respond for those hunger and fullness cues is multifactorial and can be driven by many external influences, including a history of yo-yo dieting or disordered eating patterns, pressure from other people, certain medical conditions, or eating in response to emotional triggers rather than physical indicators, just to name a few examples. It may be helpful to speak with a qualified medical provider that has a background in intuitive eating if you feel this is an area deserving of more in-depth conversation. Tip number 2 is to get adequate sleep. Now, you may ask how sleep and nutrition are related. Well, let's talk about that. Research has shown that sleep deprivation is associated with decreased production of leptin, a hormone that helps us to start feeling full during a meal, and increases our hunger-stimulating hormone ghrelin. Essentially, when we're not getting enough sleep, we feel hungrier with a dulled ability to tell when we're getting full. In order for us to have a clear picture of when we're truly hungry, it's really important that we try to aim for those 6 to 8 hours of good quality sleep each night as much as we can. Number 3, eat balanced meals. Now, I know that this is not a novel concept and it's something we've probably all heard before. Just hear me out on why I feel this is so important that it's made my top 5. Especially because there are many messages floating around out there that demonize entire food groups or macronutrients. When we structure our meals in a way to include a good protein source, some fiber-rich carbohydrates, and a source of fat, it allows for slower digestion. This helps keep us fuller longer, gives us sustained energy, and can promote blood sugar regulation. Additionally, including a variety of foods every day can help check all those boxes to make sure that we're getting all the macronutrients and vitamins and minerals that we need to help prevent nutrition deficiencies. Number 4 is to make realistic diet changes. I'm sure there are areas where we all feel that we could improve our eating habits in one way or another. It's possible that you've attempted to make changes only to fall short of what you hope to achieve. If this sounds familiar, let me give you a little bit of encouragement that you are not a failure and you are certainly not alone. In fact, it's not uncommon for people to struggle making dietary changes even when they're very motivated to do so. My observation from working in healthcare for several years is that people can tend to bite off more than they can chew, so to speak. They try to make very drastic changes that simply are not realistic for their life at that time, or try to take on very restrictive diets that aren't feasible or healthy to sustain in the long term. Rather, people make real progress when small changes are made gradually over time that collectively add up to become new lifestyle practices. Let's look at a hypothetical example of somebody who wants to improve their eating habits by incorporating more fruits and vegetables into their diet. If this person doesn't currently eat any produce and they decide that they're going to start eating a big salad for every meal every day, while this isn't impossible, it might be a little bit unrealistic based on their starting point. A much more reasonable goal might be to start adding a fruit each day for lunch. Once that becomes routine, it can be built upon. For example, adding a vegetable then with dinner each day, and so on and so forth. And finally, tip number 5 is to allow space in your diet to enjoy all of your favorite foods without guilt. Now, I know this is a controversial one, and let me first just start by saying that I am not referring to cases where a dietary restriction is indicated because of a medical condition, allergy, or food intolerance. I'm specifically speaking to something that is rooted in our diet culture that is very black and white when it comes to food. The things we eat are either good or bad, clean or unclean, and this can lead to a lot of negative thinking and self-talk if we feel the occasional indulgence is equated with us being quote-unquote bad. This thinking is not conducive for helping us achieve our health goals, nor does it produce in us any more willpower to make the changes that we would like to make. In fact, feeling like we have to restrict certain foods at all costs can lead to feelings of deprivation, which can result in a binge. In the context of an overall healthful diet, where we're really making an effort to get most of the things we eat from good, whole food sources, the occasional bowl of ice cream or piece of pizza is not going to make or break us from a health standpoint. And I would even argue that when we view these foods as sort of more neutral as opposed to inherently good or bad, they can lose that power over us, and people often find that they don't crave the less healthful options as much as they once did. That's it for my 5 tips. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in more content like this, give this video a like, please subscribe, and feel free to leave me a comment about future nutrition topics that you'd like me to cover. Bye-bye.